Noi had never imagined that 10 years of love could be erased in a single breath. For a decade, she had lived with David Walker, a kind, soft-spoken foreign man who had treated her with more tenderness than anyone in her life ever had. He supported her in everything, offered her safety she'd never known, and whispered promises they both believed would last forever. They had planned to register their marriage soon. The papers were ready, the future seemed close enough to touch, but before any signature could be written, David died, a sudden, cruel heart attack, right inside their motorhome, where they had once cooked, laughed, and argued like any ordinary couple. Noi found him slumped against the small kitchenette counter. Eyes closed, breath gone, warmth fading with every second she stood frozen in disbelief. The ambulance came, the police took notes, neighbors stared with a pity she couldn't bear, and her world collapsed quietly, no screaming, no sobbing, just a heavy silence that swallowed her whole. Noi thought the worst was over. She was wrong. Within the week, David's family arrived from the city. His mother, Caroline Walker, immaculate, elegant, cold, his 2 adult children, Brandon and Emily, both polite, distant, and carrying eyes that saw FAI as nothing more than a shadow in the corner of the room. They gathered at the motorhome, not to comfort her, but to gather their father's belongings. Emily handed FAI an envelope. Inside was a letter, short, formal, cut straight to the bone. All assets will be transferred under the Walker family estate. As you are not a legal spouse, you have no claim to the property. Please vacate the premises within 6 months. No condolences, no thank you for caring for their father, no acknowledgement of the 10 years she had given him. Just an eviction notice disguised as politeness. Noi gripped the paper so tightly her fingers trembled. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked like dry leaves. David. He promised, he said we would register soon. He told me. Caroline cut her off with a calmness sharper than a knife. My dear, intentions are not legal. We must follow the law. I'm sure you understand. Understand, Noi understood too well. She was nothing to them, a woman outside the paperwork, a decade erased in a paragraph. That night, alone in the motorhome that suddenly felt too empty, Noi sat on the floor beside David's folded shirts, inhaling the fading scent he left behind. She whispered into the darkness, David, why didn't we register sooner? There was no answer, only silence, heavy, endless, and the ticking truth. She had 6 months to leave the home they built, to leave the life she lived, to leave the memories she survived. She pressed her forehead to her knees. Tears finally falling, her world wasn't just broken, it had been taken from her. The days after David's funeral blurred together like smeared ink, uncertain, colorless, too quiet for a world that had once held laughter. Noi moved through each morning as though walking underwater, her body heavy, her thoughts drifting between denial and a hollow ache she couldn't shake off. She kept replaying the same scene, David smiling at her over breakfast, telling her they would make it official soon, that they had all the time in the world. Time had betrayed them both. A week after the family's visit, Caroline sent assistants, 2 men in suits and a woman with a clipboard, to document the property inside the motorhome. It wasn't a home anymore, it was inventory. Noi watched them open cabinets, check drawers, photograph furniture, label David's tools, pack his old camping gear into boxes. They spoke to each other casually, as if she were invisible. The woman with the clipboard turned to her. Ms. Noi, we need you to confirm which personal items belong to you, so we can separate them accordingly. Her voice was flat, bureaucratic, emotionless. Noi pointed at a single small suitcase and a backpack. That's all. The woman blinked, surprised. Only that? Noy nodded. Everything else, the books, the kitchenware, the blankets, the camera David loved, belonged to him, to them, not her. David's sweater slipped into one of the boxes, the one she used to borrow on cold nights. She turned away before they saw the tears filling her eyes. That evening, when the inventory team finally left, a knock came on her door. It was Lina, David's ex-wife. But unlike the Walkers, Lina wasn't cold or calculating. She stepped inside quietly, holding her small son, Ethan, by the hand. The boy rushed toward Fai with the innocence of someone too young to understand death. Noy. He hugged her legs tightly. Mom said you're sad. Don't be sad. Noy managed a trembling smile and crouched to embrace him. I'm trying, honey. Lina placed a hand on her shoulder. Her eyes were gentle, but tired. A tiredness Fai recognized too well. How are you holding up? Lina asked softly. Noy shook her head. I'm being asked to leave, Lina. This was my home. For 10 years. Lina bit her lip. I knew Caroline would do this. The Walkers care more about appearances than people. She hesitated, then added, if you need a place to stay temporarily, Ethan and I have space. You're not alone. The kindness in her voice cracked something inside Fai, something she'd been holding together by force. She hugged Lina suddenly, clinging to the only person who seemed to care whether she lived or disappeared. Lina hugged her back, slowly, tenderly. You took care of David for so long. Lina whispered, you deserve more than this. For the first time in days, Fai let herself cry without hiding her face. When the night settled in, and Ethan fell asleep on the couch, Fai sat by the small table staring at the eviction notice. 6 months. She could cling to this place for 6 more months. Or she could start over. But where? How? Her visa depended on David. Her life depended on him, and now he was gone. The silence of the motorhome pressed against her chest like a weight she couldn't breathe under. Her hands shook, her breath trembled. Then she stood up, walked to the kitchen, picked up her phone, and pressed record. Her voice cracked, but she spoke anyway. My name is Noy. I lived with a man I loved for 10 years, and now I'm being erased. She didn't know why she recorded it, desperation, loneliness, a need to not disappear quietly, but when she posted it on her small, forgotten page online, she never expected what would follow. Not the attention, not the outrage, not the voices that echoed her pain, not the storm that would soon shake the Walker family. Noy wiped her tears. Tonight was the night she decided something important. If the world wanted her gone, she would make them hear her first. Noy didn't sleep that night. Her post, raw, trembling, honest, kept her awake with every notification that lit up her phone. She hadn't expected anyone to listen, but strangers did. Women, immigrants, people who had once loved someone and been erased by legality, by family politics, by silence. Their messages flowed in, one after another. Stay strong. I've been through the same. 10 years of love isn't nothing. Don't let them bury you. Their words didn't fix her heartbreak, but they wrapped around her like a soft blanket she didn't know she needed. By morning, her post had spread beyond her small circle. Caroline Walker noticed it first. She stood in her immaculate kitchen, tablet in hand, scrolling with a tightening jaw. Her assistant hovered nearby, nervous. Is this her? The assistant asked. Caroline didn't answer. Her fingers stopped on the video of Fai, with swollen eyes, shaky voice, whispering, "I lived with him for 10 years, and now I am being erased." Caroline's expression remained calm, but the calm was sharp, cold, calculated. "Prepare a statement," she said, "something neutral. Nothing emotional. We will not give this unnecessary oxygen." Her assistant hesitated, "But, ma'am, people are starting to question the will." Caroline snapped the tablet shut. "The will is legal. The girl is not." Her voice was steel, but beneath that steel lived something else, fear. Fear that Noy's voice, small as it was, might reach places Caroline wanted silent forever. That afternoon, someone knocked on the motorhome door. Noy opened it slowly, unsure what new blow was coming. Instead of hostility, she found Brandon Walker standing there, David's son, tall, clean-cut, eyes that mirrored David's more than he ever knew. He looked uncomfortable, guilt pricking through his stiff posture. "Noy, can we talk?" he asked quietly. Noy crossed her arms. She wasn't Arianoide to trust anyone from that family. "What do you want, Brandon?" He swallowed hard. "I saw your video." Noy felt a needle of panic pierce her chest. She wasn't afraid of him, she was afraid of being misunderstood again. Brandon lifted a hand. "I'm not here to fight. I didn't know you were with my dad for 10 years. Noy's voice cracked. "How could you not know? He loved you. He talked about you all the time." Brandon lowered his gaze. "He never talked about you." That hit harder than any insult. Noy pressed her lips together, swallowing the pain. "I wasn't a secret, Brandon. Your family simply never wanted to see me." He didn't deny it, he simply nodded, slow, ashamed. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Noy blinked, stunned. She had prepared for hostility, but not for this. Brandon continued, "I can't change the will, but I don't want you to face this alone." Noy's voice shook. "You're offering to help me?" "No," he said softly. "I'm offering to listen." And for the first time since David died, Noy felt something shift, a small crack of light inside her darkness. That evening, FAI wrote again, not to attack, not to beg, just to tell the truth. She posted a long message about David, about their life together, the meals they cooked, the fights, the promises, and the wedding registration they had planned but never reached. She ended with, "I'm not fighting for money. I'm fighting because I refuse to disappear like I never existed." The post spread faster than the first. People shared it, commented, argued, supported, and among the thousands of reactions, one caught her breath, a message from an anonymous account. "You're right to fight. David wanted to protect you, even if his family didn't. He left something behind. Find it." Noy stared at the message, chills crawling up her spine. Left something behind. What did that mean? Where? From who? That night, Lina came to check on FAI again. She watched FAI scrolling through comments, worry in her eyes. "Noy, your posts are everywhere. People are talking. Some are angry. Some are defending you." FAI set the phone down with a shaky sigh. "I didn't mean for this to blow up. I just talked." Lina sat beside her. "Sometimes the truth explodes even when we whisper it." The room fell quiet, only the soft hum of the heater filled the silence. Then Lina added, slowly, carefully, "Be careful, FAI. The walkers won't like this attention." Noy nodded, "I know." But in her heart, a flame had already been lit, small, fragile, but burning steadily. For the first time since David's death, she felt something alive inside her, courage, and courage, once awakened, doesn't fall back asleep easily. Storm clouds gathered long before the sky darkened, not in the weather, but in the unseen spaces between the walkers and the woman they wanted erased. Noi didn't know it yet, but her truth-telling had triggered a quiet war, a war of reputation, a war of control, a war she never asked for, but was now trapped in the center of. Inside the Walker family's estate, Caroline Walker sat at the head of a long glass conference table. Her posture was flawless, her expression unreadable, but her fingers tapped lightly, an impatient rhythm that revealed what she refused to show. Emily sat across from her mother, restless, angry. Brandon arrived last, shoulders heavy, guilt still clinging to him like shadow. Caroline began without preamble, her posts are drawing attention. Too much attention. Emily slammed her tablet down, she's making Dad look like a liar. And now the comments, people are calling us heartless. I can't even open my social media. Caroline raised a hand, calm. Precise. Cold, we will not respond emotionally. We will respond strategically. Brandon looked up. Strategically, she hasn't lied, she hasn't attacked us, she's just telling her story. Emily scoffed, so we're supposed to let her ruin the family name? Caroline narrowed her eyes, the Walker name will not be ruined. Not by a woman who was never part of this family. Brandon's voice cracked, she was part of Dad's life, but Caroline cut him off sharply. Life is not the law, and the law does not know her. Her words sliced through the room, while the Walkers argued. Noi sat alone in the dim glow of the motorhome. Outside, the wind rustled the trees, but inside, it was heartbreakingly still. Her phone buzzed. She stared at the unnamed account that had messaged her before. Find it. It's there. Noi typed back. What am I supposed to look for? The reply came instantly, something he left hidden. He trusted you would understand. Look in the places he kept close to his heart. Noi's brows narrowed. Hidden, David had left so much unsaid in life, so many secrets buried under gentleness. She whispered to herself, What did you leave behind, David? As she pondered the message, another notification appeared. But this one wasn't from a stranger, it was from an unnamed number. No profile picture, no name, no friendliness, just a blunt warning, stop posting, you don't know what you're playing with. FAI froze, another message followed, 6 months is generous, don't make us shorten it. Her hand trembled slightly, but only slightly. She wasn't the same woman who cried quietly on the kitchen floor a week ago. She deleted none of the messages. Instead, she screenshot them, evidence, if she needed it. Later that night, Lina found FAI sitting stiffly at the tiny dining table, lit only by the warm lamp overhead. Noi? What's wrong? She asked gently. Noi turned the phone screen toward her, showing the threatening texts. Lina's breath hitched. Oh my God. This is from them, isn't it, the family? Noi didn't answer directly. Instead, she whispered. They think I'm trying to steal something, but all I want is not to disappear. Lina sat beside her. You don't have to fight alone. NID let out a soft, painful laugh. I don't even know what I'm fighting yet. Lina hesitated, then took FAI's hands. Then let's find out together. For the first time that night, FAI breathed normally again. Later, when the motorhome grew quiet and Lina fell asleep on the couch, FAI stood alone in the small bedroom, David's former space. She ran a hand over the wooden wall panel. the same panel she had dusted 1,000 times without thinking. But tonight, she looked at it differently. David had been a creature of habit, predictable in love, predictable in hiding things. Noi pressed the corner of the wall. A faint click sounded, her breath caught. She pulled the panel open. Inside, beneath a layer of old papers and a rusted tin box, was a thin, sealed folder. Her name was written on the front, in David's handwriting. Her knees nearly gave out. Hands trembling, she pulled the folder out, clutching it to her chest like something holy. "David," she whispered, her voice broke, "you really did leave me something." But the moment she opened the first page, her hope twisted into a cold shock, because it wasn't a love letter, or a will, or an apology. It was something far heavier, something the Walkers never wanted her to see. Something that could change the entire story. The thin folder trembled in Noi's hands. David's handwriting stared back at her, firm strokes, slightly slanted letters, a style she knew as well as the sound of his voice. Her name was written on the front, NID, "Only open if something happens to me." Her stomach dropped, her breath turned shallow. Something happens? David had expected danger. She sat on the edge of the bed, fingers numb as she broke the seal. Inside were several pages, notes, warnings, fragments of his thoughts. They weren't polished, not official, not presented like a will. They were raw, fearful, and personal. The first page read, "If you're reading this, it means I didn't get to tell you the truth myself." NID pressed a trembling hand to her lips. David had written this for her, not the Walkers, not the lawyers, for her. She continued reading. "I was planning to register our marriage. I delayed it too long. I thought I had time. That was my mistake." Her throat tightened. "My family doesn't approve of you, not because of who you are, but because of what I hid from them." Noi frowned. What he hid. She turned to the next page. David's next note was darker. "If something happens to me, Noi, they will blame you. Not openly, not legally, but they will erase your name." Noi's heart pounded. He had predicted everything. The eviction notice, the cold stares, the accusations, they cannot control what I left in writing. That's why this letter exists. Keep it, protect it, use it if they try to silence you. Noi's vision blurred, tears burned behind her eyes. David hadn't abandoned her. He had tried to protect her, even from beyond death. The third page was a shock, a confession. "I've been feeling strange lately. My heartbeat is irregular. My medication seems different." Noi froze. "Different?" She read the next line slowly. "I don't trust the refills I received last month. Someone keeps insisting I change pharmacies. It doesn't feel right." Her hands shook. A chill crawled up her spine. Someone, who? Her mind immediately flashed to Caroline, Emily, the unnamed assistant, someone in the house. She flipped to the next note, heart pounding. David's final message chilled her blood. "Don't tell my family about these notes. They will twist them, or claim they're fake, or say you manipulated me." Her breath hitched. How could he have known so perfectly? How could he predict the cruelty she was facing now? "If you need help, go to Lina or Brandon. They are the only ones who might listen." Noi's eyes widened. Brandon. David trusted his son, even though Brandon barely knew her. "Noi, if the truth comes out, promise me you will protect Ethan. He didn't ask for any of this." Her heart shattered. Ethan, the child David loved quietly, secretly, more than the Walkers wanted to admit. She whispered into the stillness, "I promise." Noi sat frozen, the folder resting on her lap. Every note felt heavier than the last. David wasn't paranoid. He wasn't careless. He wasn't forgetful. he was worried, he was scared, he was trying to warn her, and he knew, that his death wouldn't be simple. She whispered, "David, what were you afraid of?" The motorhome felt too small, too dark. Her heart raced with confusion, sorrow, and a growing sense of dread. Then her phone buzzed, a message, from Brandon, Noi. "We need to talk again, I found something." Her heart stopped for a beat. She typed back, "What did you find?" Brandon replied after a long moment, "Something about Dad's medication." Noi's breath dragged sharply. David's notes, Brandon's message, the anonymous warning, they were all pointing to the same place. David's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a puzzle, and someone didn't want it solved. The folder clutched tightly. "Lina," she whispered, shaking her awake gently. Lina blinked. "Noi? What is it?" Noi swallowed hard. "David left me a message, several messages." Lina pushed upright, fully alert now. "What kind of messages?" Noi's voice shook. "He didn't trust his medication." Lina froze. That doesn't make sense. David was always careful." Noi nodded. "That's why it scares me." Outside, the wind rustled against the metal walls of the motorhome, soft, but ominous. Noi's next words were barely a whisper. "I think something happened before he died, something none of them want to talk about." And for the first time since David's death, Noi wasn't grieving, she was afraid, and determined. Whatever David had tried to leave behind, she would follow it to the end, even if it led her somewhere dark. Night fell heavy on the motorhome, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that feels like it's pressing against the windows, listening, waiting. Noi sat at the small table with Lina. David's hidden folder opened between them. The lamplight flickered, casting shadows that crawled across the pages like secrets refusing to stay still. Every sentence David wrote made the air feel thicker. His worries, his fear, his suspicions about his own medication, his warnings about his family. It was all too much, but it was also the first time Fai felt she had something real, not just memories, not tears, not grief, but evidence. And evidence meant she wasn't helpless anymore. Noi's phone vibrated again. She picked it up quickly, half expecting another threat, but it was Brandon. She hesitated before answering. "Brandon?" His voice came through low, tense, as if he were hiding from someone. "Fai. I'm sorry for calling so late, but I need to see you, tonight." Noi stiffened. "Tonight? Why?" There was a long pause on the line, a pause that said more than words. "I went to check Dad's medical cabinet," Brandon said finally, "and I found something that doesn't make sense." Exchanged a glance with Lina. "What exactly did you find?" She whispered. Brandon exhaled, the sound sharp and shaky. "The sedative Dad was taking the last week before he died, it wasn't the one he was prescribed." Noi's nails dug into her palm. Lina grabbed the edge of the table. Brandon continued, voice dropping lower. "Someone switched the medication." Noi's heartbeat thudded painfully. "Who would even know how to do that?" she asked. Brandon didn't answer, and the silence told her everything. Finally, he said, "Noi, I'm not sure the heart attack was natural." The room felt colder. Noi felt her knees weaken. She forced herself to ask, "Brandon, do you think your father was harmed?" He swallowed audibly. "I don't know, but I know this, he trusted you, and he left things behind for you for a reason." Noi's chest tightened. "Brandon," he cut her off, "I'm coming to you. Don't open the door for anyone else." The line went dead. Noi stared at the phone, shaking. Lina reached for her hand immediately. Noi. What do we do? Noi took a slow breath. We wait for him. But deep down, she knew, the truth was coming for her, whether she was ready or not. An hour passed, the air outside grew colder, the motorhome creaked with the weight of the wind, then, bang. 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 The door jolted under a harsh knock. Noi shot to her feet. Lina grabbed her arm. That's not Brandon, Lina whispered. He said he'd call before coming. The knocking came again, harder, sharper, not a request, a demand. Noi, a cold voice called from outside. Noi froze. It wasn't Brandon, it wasn't any voice she knew. Noi, Ms. Noi, the voice repeated, we need to speak with you, now. Lina squeezed her arm, eyes wide, don't open it. Noi didn't move, didn't blink. The voice outside grew more impatient. You're making this harder than it needs to be. FAI whispered to Lina, turn off the lights. The motorhome went quiet and dark. The only sound was the wind, and the stranger outside who refused to leave. After what felt like a lifetime, footsteps finally retreated, the car engine started, they left. Lina let out a shaky breath. Noi, they know you found something. Noi leaned against the wall, eyes closed tightly. She warned me, FAI whispered, don't stay alone tonight. The anonymous person, they knew something like this would happen. Lina rubbed her arms, shivering. This isn't just family drama anymore. And Noi knew she was right. Something dark was hiding beneath David's death, and someone wanted it buried with him. A small voice called from the back room, Mama. Noi? It was Ethan, awake, scared. Noi knelt and gathered him into her arms. It's okay, she whispered, stroking his hair. Everything is okay. But it wasn't. The boy clung to her shirt, trembling. Bad people outside? He asked. Noi swallowed the lump in her throat. No, honey, just the wind. Ethan nodded sleepily, trusting her completely. It hurt more than anything, because trust was something she couldn't give back, not until she knew what truly happened to David. At nearly 2 a.m., headlights swept across the curtains. Lina and FAI both jerked upright. A cautious knock sounded. Noi? It's me. Brandon, this time, his voice was real, relieved, not threatening. Noi opened the door slowly. Brandon stepped in, face pale, shoulders tense, eyes red like he hadn't slept in days. He carried a small box, not a gift, evidence. He set it on the table. I found this hidden behind Dad's medical files. Noi stared at it. Lina leaned in behind her. Brandon opened the box. Inside were 3 things: a bottle of sedatives, unlabeled, a heart monitor log with irregular spikes, a torn paper with a single sentence in David's handwriting. If they ask, tell them I knew. Noi's breath left her body. She whispered, Knew what? Brandon shook his head, voice breaking. I think he knew someone was altering his medication. I think he tried to warn us. Noi's hands trembled. Brandon looked directly into her eyes. Noi, my father didn't die peacefully. Something happened that night. Lina stepped closer. Who would do that? Brandon clenched his jaw. My mother didn't go near Dad's medication. I checked. Noi stared at him. Then who? Brandon hesitated. Pain flickered across his face. And then he finally said the name he'd been avoiding, Emily. Noi felt the room tilt. Emily, she had expected conflict, cruelty, jealousy, even resentment, but not this, not David's daughter being tied to the night he died. Lina's hand flew to her mouth. Brandon looked sick, like someone had torn open a wound he'd been trying to ignore. Brandon sank into the chair at the small table. Burying his face in his hands, his breath shook. I wanted to believe my sister. I wanted to believe she hated the situation, not Dad. Noi remained silent, giving him space. Her pulse thudded heavily in her ears. Brandon forced himself to look up. When I checked Dad's medical cabinet, I found Emily's fingerprint on one of his sedative bottles. Noi's body stiffened. Lina whispered, horrified, "Why would Emily touch his medication?" Brandon exhaled slowly, voice trembling, "Because she visited him, the night he died." Noi's breath caught. She was with him? Not for long, Brandon said. She told me she went to drop off some company paperwork, but when I checked the security logs, the camera outside Dad's motorhome was disabled for 1 hour. Noi felt something cold climb her spine. And you think she did that? She whispered. Brandon nodded. There's no one else who knew how. Silence swallowed the room, heavy, dense, full of a truth none of them wanted. Noi pulled the folder closer, flipping back to David's warning. If my medication feels different, someone is trying to manipulate my health. Her heart twisted painfully. David wasn't paranoid. He wasn't imagining things. He had sensed danger. He knew someone was pushing him into weakness. FAI swallowed hard. Brandon, did your dad mention feeling dizzy, or headaches, or being unusually tired? Brandon hesitated, then he nodded slowly. Yes, he said he felt off the week before he died, and that Emily kept telling him to take his medication on time, because she was worried about him. Noi went still. Emily pushing medication, Emily near the motorhome, Emily disabling cameras. The pieces were aligning, and they painted a painful picture. Lina held her breath. Noi, do you remember the night you found David? Noi nodded slowly, eyes unfocused. Yes, he was sweating, barely conscious, his heartbeat. It was too fast, like it was crashing against his chest. Brandon whispered, that's exactly what happens when someone with his condition takes the wrong sedative. A tremor passed through FAI's fingers. She gripped the edge of the table. David didn't make mistakes like that, she said. Her voice shook. He never mixed medications. He was careful. Too careful. Brandon nodded. I know, which is why I think someone switched the bottles. Lina whispered, Emily? Brandon closed his eyes. I don't want to believe it, but she's the only person besides FAI who had access to Dad's things that week. Noi's throat tightened. Why would she do it? She whispered. Brandon didn't answer right away. He looked down at his hands, and whispered a truth he never wanted to speak aloud, because she hated the idea that Dad had a new life, a life without us. Noi felt her stomach twist. Lina wiped her tears, voice trembling. She couldn't want him dead. Brandon whispered, no, not intentionally, but she wanted him scared, weak, dependent, so he wouldn't make big decisions, like changing the will. Noi shut her eyes. The realization landed like a punch. Emily didn't mean to kill David, but her desire to control him might have pushed him into danger. Brandon opened the heart monitor log again, placing it between them. Look at this, he said. Noi leaned closer. Irregular spikes, violent ones, appeared at 12:43 a.m. Brandon pointed at the line. That is the exact time Emily visited Dad that night. Noi's voice came out as a whisper, and the camera was off. Brandon nodded. The camera logs confirm it. Lina whispered, oh my God. Noi felt the air leave her lungs. Her voice broke. Brandon, do you think Emily knows she caused this? Brandon's silence was the answer. Yes, she knew. Just as the weight of the truth settled over them, Noy's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, the anonymous account again. Her hands went cold. The message said, "You're getting close, but be careful, the person who caused it isn't the person who covered it up." Noy's breath hitched. She typed quickly, "Who covered it up?" The reply came instantly, "The one who fears the truth the most." Another message followed, "Check the financial statements. David's death saved someone a lot of money." Noy's heart slammed against her ribs. Lina whispered, "Saved? Who money?" Noy stared at Brandon. Brandon's face drained of color. Not Emily." Lina looked at him, horrified. "Then who?" Brandon swallowed, his voice barely audible. "My mother." Noy felt the blood freeze in her veins. Caroline, the elegant, icy matriarch, the woman who ordered them to erase FAI, the woman who refused to let David change anything. The woman who hid secrets behind grace and pearls, the woman who would do anything to protect the Walker name, anything, stood, Noy gripping the table. Her voice was soft, but deadly steady. If Caroline covered up the truth, then she knew David was dying, and she let me suffer alone. She let the world call me nothing. Brandon bowed his head. "I'm sorry, FAI, I didn't know." Noy swallowed hard, her eyes burned with something far stronger than grief, resolve. "David warned me about them for a reason," she said, "and I won't let his truth be buried." Lina nodded beside her. "We're with you, no matter how dark this gets." For the first time, FAI wasn't afraid. She was ready. The Walkers had played their games in the shadows. Now it was her turn to pull everything into the light, even if the truth destroyed a powerful family, even if it destroyed her. The night felt endless, a maze of truths and half-truths twisting into darker shapes with every new revelation. Noy sat between Lina and Brandon, her hands clasped tightly together as though trying to hold her breaking heart in place. But what beat inside her was no longer only grief, it was fire. The kind that ignites quietly, but burns everything once it spreads. Brandon stared at the message from the anonymous account, his expression hollow. Caroline, his mother, he shook his head. Almost violently. "No, my mother wouldn't harm my father, she wouldn't kill him." Noy spoke gently, but firmly. "Brandon. No one said she killed him." Brandon's jaw tightened. "Then what? You think she covered it up?" Noy nodded slowly. "Yes, because admitting the truth would destroy her image, her position, her control." Lina added softly, "She didn't want David changing the will. If he died before he could change anything, she would keep everything the same." Brandon buried his face in his hands. "So she let him die?" Silence filled the motorhome, a deep, suffocating silence. FAI reached out and touched Brandon's arm. "Sometimes the cruelest thing isn't killing someone," she whispered, "it's doing nothing to save them, and pretending you didn't notice." Brandon's shoulders shook. For the first time, FAI realized he wasn't just grieving a father, he was grieving the mother he thought he knew. Lina picked up the heart monitor log again, frowning. "Look at this," she said, "the heart spikes. They weren't just sudden, they were repeated, like someone forced his body through cycles of stress." Brandon nodded. "I checked Dad's bank accounts. The pharmacy expenses changed drastically in the last month of his life." Noy up sharply. "Changed how?" Brandon swallowed. He wasn't buying his usual medication. The new sedatives were expensive. Import level expensive. Someone else bought them. Noy felt her stomach turn. "Caroline," she whispered, she had access to his accounts, she could authorize purchases without him knowing. Brandon closed his eyes. My mother controlled all medical payments, she insisted on it. Lina whispered, so if someone switched the medication, and someone else covered it up, then this wasn't a mistake. Noy nodded slowly, voice shaking. This was a chain of actions that ended with David dying. Brandon looked sick. I should have seen it, he whispered. I should have noticed something was wrong. Noy squeezed his hand. No one sees the things they're not supposed to question. FAI's phone buzzed. All three of them froze. She opened the message. You're close to the truth. Keep looking at the money trail. FAI typed quickly. Who are you? How do you know all this? The reply came instantly. Someone who worked in that house for 20 years. Lina gasped. A house staff member? FAI continued typing. Why are you helping me? Another immediate reply. Because I saw what happened that night. Noy's blood ran cold. Her hand trembled. What did you see? The reply. Someone entered the motorhome after Emily left. Someone who shouldn't have been there. Brandon's eyes widened. Who? The answer appeared. It wasn't Emily. It wasn't you. It wasn't a stranger. Noy's heart hammered. She typed the final question. Then who? This time the reply took longer. When it came, FAI felt the world tilt. Your fiancé wasn't alone when he died. His last visitor was Caroline. Brandon's entire body went still. Lina covered her mouth. Noy felt something inside her crack. Not fear, not shock, but rage, deep, dark, cold. Brandon whispered, voice barely audible, my mother told me she didn't visit him that night, that she was home all evening. Noy's eyes burned. She lied. Brandon nodded numbly. She lied. He collapsed back into the chair, gripping his hair. She said she was preparing documents for the company. She told us she was exhausted. That she didn't want to talk about Dad's last week. Noy's voice trembled, because she knew what happened. Brandon stared blankly at the floor. She went to him, she saw he was dying, and she walked away. Noy looked down at David's last note. Tell them I knew. Her vision blurred. David had known Caroline could be cruel, manipulative, controlling, but he didn't know she would allow his life to slip away, or maybe he did. Noy swallowed painfully. She let everyone blame it on his heart, she whispered. She let them treat me like I didn't matter. She let the world erase me. Lina wiped her eyes. She didn't just erase you, FAI, she erased him, his voice. His intentions, his truth. Noy lowly. Her voice was calm, controlled, terrifyingly steady. Brandon. He looked up at her, helpless, broken. Noy spoke softly. I'm going to expose this. Lina nodded fiercely. Brandon swallowed hard. You'll be going against my entire family. Noy met his eyes. They already took everything from me. What else can they take? Brandon closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was something new inside him. Resolve. If you go forward, I'll stand with you. Noy nodded. Then we start tomorrow. The room fell silent, but it wasn't a hopeless silence. It was the silence before war, and for the first time since David took his last breath, Noy wasn't grieving. She was fighting. Morning crept over the horizon slowly, hesitant, as though it sensed the storm waiting to break. Noy had barely slept. None of them had. The night's revelation sat between them like a ghost, David's ghost, quiet, heavy, watching. Today, things would no longer be whispered. Today, they would begin to drag the truth out of the shadows. Noy felt the weight of the folder in her hand. It wasn't just paper, it was a weapon. Sunlight filtered weakly through the motorhome curtains as Brandon sat across from Noy, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the evidence spread across the small table. His voice came out hoarse. "I'm going home, I need to talk to Emily." Lina looked alarmed. "Alone?" Brandon nodded. "She's the first piece of this puzzle. If she tells the truth, we'll have enough to confront my mother." Noy placed a hand gently on his arm. "Be careful. If she realizes you know everything." Brandon finished the sentence himself. "She'll try to protect my mother, or herself." He took a deep breath and stood. "I'll record everything, and I'll come back before evening." Noy nodded. "Thank you." Brandon managed a weak smile. "I'm doing this for my father, and for peace, something our family hasn't had in a long time." He left quietly, and for the first time, Fai wondered if he would come back with answers, or with more questions than she could handle. Lina watched Noy pace the narrow space, anxiety rippling through her every movement. "Noy, sit down," Lina urged gently, but Fai couldn't. "What if there's more?" She whispered. "What if David hid something else?" Lina sighed. "You've checked every drawer." "No. Not the kitchen." Lina blinked. "The kitchen?" "Yes." Noy moved quickly toward the tiny kitchenette, her hands moving through cupboards and shelves. "He cooked a lot. He always kept important things close to him when he cooked. Recipes. Notes. Receipts." Lina joined the search. It didn't take long. Behind the spice rack, taped beneath a shelf, was a small packet wrapped in plastic. Noy's breath hitched. She peeled the tape away and opened it. Inside was a USB drive, black, unmarked. Lina swallowed. God. He really was hiding something. Noy stared at the flash drive like it was a beating heart. "What did you leave for me, David?" She whispered. Before she could plug the USB into the laptop, the sound of footsteps crunching gravel outside made both women freeze. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Lina's voice dropped to a whisper. Brandon wouldn't be back this fast." Fai reached for her phone instinctively. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Someone raised a fist. Bang. 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 A harsh knock. Fai's chest tightened. Then, a voice. Cold, familiar. Controlled like a blade. "Noy, it's Caroline." Lina grabbed Fai's wrist. "Don't open it," she whispered urgently. "Not without Brandon." But Fai wasn't afraid, not anymore. She had David's notes, the USB, and the truth. Noy breathed in deeply. "Open the curtain just a little." Lina peeked out. Caroline stood outside in a perfectly pressed coat, her expression smooth and venomous. Her driver lingered behind her like a silent shadow. Lina whispered, "She's angry." Noy nodded. "Good." She unlocked the door and opened it just enough to face the woman who had tried to erase her. Caroline's eyes scanned the motorhome behind her, calculating, judging. "May I come in?" she asked sharply. Noy shook her head. "No, say what you came to say." Caroline smiled thinly. "Your posts online must stop." Noy crossed her arms. "Why?" "Because people are listening?" Caroline stepped closer, her voice low. "Because you are spreading misinterpretations. You are confusing the public. You are creating unnecessary attention." Fai held her gaze. "You mean you don't want the attention?" Caroline's smile dropped. "Noy, listen to me carefully. David's death was tragic, but natural. Noi felt anger bloom inside her. Is that why you visited him the night he died? She asked quietly. Caroline's eyes widened for the first time, barely perceptible, but undeniable. Who told you that? Noi didn't answer. Caroline regained her composure quickly. I was not with him, I was home, ask anyone. Noi stepped forward. I don't need to ask anyone. Caroline's breath hitched, her mask slipped, just for a second, then she leaned in, voice icy. You have no proof. Noi whispered back, I don't need proof, I have your fear. Caroline's eyes flashed with something dangerous, not anger, not denial, fear. Stop this, Caroline said softly, while you still can. Noi shut the door in her face. Caroline didn't knock again, she didn't call out, she simply stared at the closed door for several seconds. Then she spoke loud enough for FAI to hear. You have 6 months, do not force me to shorten it. Noi felt her blood freeze, then Caroline turned, heels crunching against the gravel. She left as quietly as she came, leaving a chill that seeped into the bones of the motorhome. Lina exhaled shakily. Noi, that woman is dangerous. Noi nodded slowly. Now I know. She looked down at the USB drive in her hand. Whatever was on it, David believed she would need it, and after facing Caroline today. Noi knew one thing, this wasn't grief anymore, it was survival. Hours later, when they were finally alone and the fear settled enough for breath, Noi plugged the USB into her laptop. A single folder popped up, named simply, for Noi. Her hand shook as she opened it. Inside were a video file, several documents, a scanned medical receipt, a letter. Lina leaned closer. Play the video. Noi clicked it. David appeared on the screen, alive, breathing, serious. Noi. If you're watching this, it means I didn't get a chance to warn you. Noi covered her mouth, tears instantly brimming. David continued, I found out someone has been manipulating my medication. I don't know who. But I know someone in the family is involved. Lina froze. Noi's entire world narrowed to the shaking video. David swallowed. Be careful. Someone has a lot to gain if I'm gone. He looked away, breathing shakily. I hope I'm wrong, but if I'm not, you must protect the truth. The video ended abruptly, leaving silence like the echo of a gunshot. Lina whispered, Noi, this is enough to destroy the walkers. Noi whispered back, no, her voice was cold, angry, alive, this is enough to save him. The moment the video ended, Noi felt the ground shift beneath her feet. David, her David, had recorded a message because he feared for his life, because he knew someone close to him was capable of something dark. The grief she carried transformed into something sharper, purpose. Late afternoon shadows stretched across the gravel outside the motorhome when a car pulled in. Noi looked up from the laptop. It was Brandon. He stepped out slowly, shoulders slumped. His eyes were swollen, red, like he'd been crying for hours. Lina opened the door before he reached it. Brandon. What happened? He didn't answer. Not until he stepped inside and sat heavily at the table. Then he spoke in a hollow voice. I confronted Emily. Silence filled the room. Noi swallowed hard. And? Brandon dragged a trembling hand through his hair. She confessed. Lina gasped. Noi's pulse thundered. She admitted visiting Dad. She admitted turning off the camera. She admitted giving him the wrong sedatives. Brandon's voice cracked. She said she didn't mean to hurt him. She just wanted to scare him, wanted him to rethink his decisions. She thought if he got sick enough, he'd stop talking about changing the will. Noi closed her eyes. absorbing the pain in his voice. Emily had been reckless, desperate, afraid of losing the life she knew. She hadn't intended to kill David, but intent didn't matter. The consequences had been deadly. Brandon continued in barely a whisper. She told me Mom told her what to say to the police, what to hide, what to destroy. Noy's eyes flew open. Destroy? Brandon nodded. Dad's old prescriptions, some medical logs, a private note he wrote about not trusting the new medication. Noy felt ice crawl down her spine. Caroline had tried to bury David's voice completely, and Emily did it, Brandon whispered, because she was afraid of Mom, because she trusted Mom. He let out a broken laugh. She never questioned any of it, she just obeyed. Brandon leaned forward, burying his face in his hands. I hate myself for not seeing it sooner. Noy touched his shoulder gently. Brandon, this isn't your fault. He shook his head. I want to believe that, but the truth is, Dad died because our family cared more about reputation than love. His voice trembled, and I'm ashamed of all of us. Brandon lifted his head, wiping his face. There's something else, he said. I found these. He pulled out a thin envelope, creased, worn, as though someone had tried to hide it for years. Inside were several documents, a partially completed marriage registration form, a letter addressed to FAI, receipts for medication he never collected, a hospital note warning about sedative interactions, a bank transfer he made to Lina in trust for Ethan. FAI's breath caught. David had been preparing everything, quietly, carefully, secretly. Brandon handed her the letter. I think this is meant for you. Noy opened it with trembling hands. David's handwriting again, gentle and familiar. Noy, I'm sorry I waited too long. I thought I could protect you and Ethan by keeping things simple. I was wrong. If anything happens to me, remember this, my love for you was real. My promise was real. Don't let anyone take that truth away. Noy pressed the letter to her chest, tears spilling silently. Lina dabbed at her own eyes. Brandon watched them, expression pained. He wanted you to know, Brandon said softly. He wanted the world to know. Noy whispered, and I won't let him down. Noy played the video for Brandon. He watched in absolute shock. When it ended, he stood abruptly, pacing like a man whose world was collapsing around him. This, Mom knew, she absolutely knew. His voice shook with rage. She didn't just cover it up, she manipulated everything. She hid evidence, she silenced Emily, she let the blame fall on his heart condition. He punched the wall, breath ragged. She let the world believe Dad died peacefully while she watched him fade. Noy stepped toward him carefully. Brandon, no. He snapped, then immediately softened. I'm sorry. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at her, at what she's capable of. His fists trembled. And I'm terrified of what she'll do when she learns we know. The motorhome fell silent. Then FAI spoke, calm, but fierce. We can't hide this, not anymore. Lina nodded. She knows FAI isn't backing down. She came here herself. She's afraid. Brandon looked between them, breathing hard. If we expose this, it will destroy her. Noy locked eyes with him. She destroyed herself the moment she let David die. Brandon swallowed hard, then he nodded. Okay, I'm with you, all the way. Lina placed both hands on the table. Then we need a plan. Noy sat down, opening the USB folder again. Her voice was steady. We start with everything David left behind, and we make sure the world hears what he couldn't say. Brandon exhaled. Fear and determination mixing in his eyes. This will tear the family apart. Noi whispered, they tore themselves apart long ago. Just as the three leaned in to form their strategy, Noi's phone rang, a private number. Her stomach tightened. She answered. Hello? A familiar cold voice sliced through the line. Noi, we need to talk. Noi stiffened. Caroline. Her tone wasn't angry. It was calm, too calm. You've been busy. Noi swallowed. What do you want? Caroline's words were soft, frighteningly so. To warn you, whatever you think you found, stop digging. Noi's hand curled into a fist. No, Caroline spoke slowly, each word dripping with threat. This will not end the way you think. Walk away while you still have something left. Noi's voice grew colder. I'm not walking away from David. A long pause, then Caroline added the final blow. Then prepare yourself, because you've just declared war. The line went dead. Noi the phone. Brandon's face drained of color. Lina whispered, Noi, she's going to fight back. Noi nodded slowly. I know. Her eyes hardened, but she has no idea who she's fighting. War wasn't declared with headlines or legal papers. It was declared with a whisper, a threat, a woman in pearls telling FAI to walk away from the truth. Noi didn't walk away, she walked toward the fire. Because David deserved a voice, and she would carry it for him. The next morning, Noi's world shifted again, not by something she found, but by something she lost. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Lina rushed to the motorhome window. Noi. Look. A small crowd had gathered outside the property gate. Reporters, camera crews, curious neighbors. FAI's social media posts had gone viral overnight, but the real punch came from one message Brandon showed her on his phone, a statement from Caroline Walker herself, cold, polished, perfectly cruel. We mourn David deeply. Recent online rumors by a woman claiming to be his partner are unfounded and emotionally unstable. She did not have a legal relationship with him. We urge the public not to encourage such delusions. Lina gasped, she called you unstable. Noi felt the sting, but deeper than pain was anger, the kind that burned slowly but completely. Caroline wanted to destroy her credibility, to make her look hysterical, irrelevant. This was the first move of a powerful woman who expected obedience. FAI's jaw tightened. So that's how she wants to play. Brandon looked devastated, humiliated, even. I didn't know she would do this, he said, shaking. I didn't know she'd attack you publicly. FAI placed a hand on his arm. It's not your fault. He swallowed hard, guilt consuming his face. She's escalating. She wouldn't do this unless she felt threatened. Lina added, she's trying to paint FAI as unstable so nobody believes her when the truth comes out. Brandon nodded miserably. My mother is starting a character assassination. She's preparing to bury you socially before you can expose her. Noi inhaled deeply. Let her try. Brandon stared at her, surprised. You're not afraid? Noi's voice was steady. I've been erased once. It won't happen again. Instead of responding publicly, instead of feeding the fire Caroline had set, Noi opened the USB. She selected a single file, the medical receipt showing the altered prescriptions. She posted it with a short caption. He didn't change his medication, someone else did. No accusations, no names, no anger. Just truth. The post exploded instantly. People questioned, speculated, demanded answers. The pressure shifted, the spotlight moved. Caroline had thrown the first punch, but Noi had aimed for the ribs. Inside the Walker mansion, the atmosphere turned poisonous. Emily paced the living room, eyes swollen. Mom, we need to stop, she has the documents. Caroline stood by the window, arms crossed. She has nothing that can be proven. Emily's voice cracked. She knows I was there that night. Caroline turned sharply. Then you deny it. I can't, Brandon knows. Caroline's eyes narrowed into something dangerous. Your brother is emotional. He will come back to reason. Emily shook her head. No, he's on her side. Caroline's jaw clenched. Then your brother is a fool. She stepped closer. And you must not become one too. Emily trembled. Mom, are we? Are we bad people? Caroline grabbed her daughter's chin firmly. No, we are survivors. Her voice chilled the room, and survivors do whatever is necessary to protect their home. While reporters gathered outside and the Walkers panicked inside their mansion, Noe and Linus sat at the table. Brandon stayed too, clasping his father's documents as though they anchored him to sanity. Lina opened a second file from the USB, a voice recording. David's voice again, worn, tired, afraid. If I become suddenly sick, or if something happens to me in the night, it will not be my heart. Noe's eyes filled with tears. David continued, someone is pushing me to take medication I don't recognize. I asked about it. They avoided the question. Brandon whispered, Mom. David's voice cracked at the end. Noe, if you hear this, don't let them paint you as crazy. Don't let them bury what I tried to tell you. Noe covered her mouth. Lina wiped her face. Brandon's eyes burned. That's it, he said softly. We take this public. Noe shook her head. No, not yet. Brandon stared. Why not? Noe looked at him, steady as steel. Because if we reveal too much now, she'll destroy evidence we haven't found yet. We need her scared. We need her desperate. We need her to make mistakes. Brandon slowly nodded. You're thinking like my father, he whispered. Noe blinked away tears. He taught me well. Noe's phone buzzed again. The anonymous account. She opened the message. Caroline is preparing something. She is more dangerous cornered. Be careful who you trust. Noe typed, you said you saw what happened the night David died. Why didn't you speak before? A long pause. Then, because Caroline threatened my family, I couldn't risk everything. Noe closed her eyes. Fear, power, silence. Caroline had built her world using all three. Then another message came. But you're the first person she can't silence. Noe exhaled slowly. Her resolve tightened. She typed, then help me end this. What do I need to find next? The reply came, look for the folder David hid outside the motorhome. Noe stiffened. Outside, she typed quickly, where outside, but no answer came, not another word, just silence. That was more terrifying than any message. Lina bit her lip nervously. Outside, like. Buried? Brandon looked around. It could be anywhere. FAI grabbed her jacket. Then let's start searching. Lina blinked. Now? Yes. Now. Brandon nodded and stood. The three stepped outside into the late evening breeze, reporters watching from a distance, the sky turning a bruised purple. The air holding warnings they could almost taste. Noe whispered, David, show me where you hid your truth. And she walked into the darkness, with nothing but determination and love guiding her. Night wrapped around the motorhome like a warning, cold, still, too quiet for what they were about to uncover. Noe led the way with a small flashlight in hand. Brandon followed closely behind, carrying a second light. Lina walked between them, clutching her jacket tightly. The gravel crunched under their feet as they moved toward the darker edges of the property. They weren't just searching, they were trespassing into the past David tried to protect them from. The beam of FAI's flashlight drifted over familiar landmarks. The wooden bench David liked to sit on, the patch of earth where he planted herbs, the old fire pit he built with his own hands. These were small pieces of a life they had shared, pieces she never imagined would become clues. Brandon stopped suddenly. "He used to sit here every morning," he said softly, pointing to the bench, "even when he was tired. He liked this spot." Noy nodded. "He said the sunrise felt different here." Her voice cracked with memory. Lina looked around. If he hid something outside, he'd choose somewhere private, somewhere meaningful. Noy closed her eyes. David's words from the USB echoed in her mind. "Keep the truth where they will never look." She knew exactly where that was. Her eyes opened sharply. The herb garden. They approached the small square of soil where David used to grow basil, mint, rosemary, plants he loved tending because they made the air smell like home. Noy knelt beside the plot. The earth looked freshly disturbed, but only slightly, as if someone had dug there weeks ago, and tried to blend it back into the soil. Brandon exhaled. "You think he buried something?" Noy nodded. "Yes, David loved hiding things under the safest places. He used to say plants guarded secrets better than people." She dug her fingers into the soil. Nothing at first, just dirt, roots, cold earth. Then her fingertips hit something solid, wood, small, rectangular, a box. Noy's breath caught. Brandon helped her clear the dirt. They unearthed a small wooden case, old and weathered, tied with a string. Lina whispered, "Oh my God." Noy's hands trembled as she brushed soil away. The lid was scratched, but one thing remained ingrained, DW, David Walker's initials. Her heart tightened. "David. What did you leave here?" She opened the box. Inside were a USB drive, different from the first one, 2 handwritten letters, an envelope labeled "In case they silence me," a small memory card. Lina gasped. "This is huge." Brandon looked stunned. "My father. He was preparing for something bigger than we imagined." Noy picked up the letter addressed to her. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. "Noy, if you found this, it means someone is trying to erase the truth. You must be careful. People you trust may turn against you, but I know you are stronger than they believe." Her eyes blurred. Another line. "The truth is in the numbers. Follow the money. Expose whoever paid for my medication to be changed." Brandon inhaled sharply. "That means someone financed the switch." Noy whispered, "And that person wasn't Emily." They stared at each other. There was only one person with power over every expense, Caroline. But before they could open the second letter, Noy's phone vibrated violently. She checked it. A new message from the anonymous insider. "Leave the garden, now." Her heart stopped. She lifted her head sharply. "Someone's coming." A car engine roared in the distance. Headlights swept across the trees in a wide arc, bright enough to blind. Brandon cursed under his breath. "They're heading straight toward us." Lina grabbed FAI's arm. "Noy, we need to run." But FAI refused to leave the box behind. She clutched it tightly to her chest. "Go ahead. I'm right behind you." Brandon stayed with her. "You're not staying alone." The headlights grew closer. A black SUV. Dark windows. Fast, very fast. The engine growled like a predator. Lina screamed, "Noy, now." Noy sprinted away from the garden, box in her arms. Brandon followed, shouting for her to keep running. The SUV skidded onto the grass, mud flying, tires spinning, brakes screeching. Someone had come to stop them, someone who didn't want David's secrets found. Noi's heartbeat thundered painfully as she ran. Her breath burned, her legs felt weak, but she didn't drop the box. She couldn't. Behind her, the SUV lurched forward again, crawling toward them like a silent threat. Brandon grabbed her hand, just a little further. Lina threw open the motorhome door and shouted, "Hurry!" They crashed inside. Brandon slammed the door shut, locking it twice. The SUV rolled to a stop just a few meters away. The engine idled ominously. No one stepped out. The car simply stayed there, watching, waiting. Noi clutched the wooden box to her chest, trembling. "What do they want?" Lina whispered. Noi shook her head, voice barely audible. "They want what David left behind." Brandon backed away from the window, face pale. "That car. It's from my mother's security team." Lina stiffened. "You're sure?" Brandon nodded slowly. "I recognize the license plate. My mother sent them." The three of them stood frozen. The car eventually reversed, turning slowly. Its headlights lingered on the motorhome for a long, unsettling moment. Then it drove away, leaving tire tracks in the grass, and a promise of something much worse. Silence flooded the motorhome when the engine finally disappeared. Lina collapsed onto the couch. "Noi, they nearly caught us." Brandon rubbed his face with both hands. "She knows we found something. She knows we're not backing down." Noi placed the wooden box gently on the table. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were sharp. "No, she doesn't know what we found yet." Lina nodded. "And she won't, until we decide to use it." Brandon sat down across from FAI. "What's in the second letter?" Noi opened it. David's writing filled the page, faster, more urgent. "If you reach this point, you're in danger. Caroline will not let the truth live. She will try to destroy every document you find. Trust only who has nothing to gain." Noi's chest tightened. He knew everything. David ended with, "Do not let my death be rewritten. Expose them, expose everything, and live." Noi wiped tears from her cheeks. She whispered, "I will, David, I promise." Noi turned to Brandon and Lina. Her voice was quiet, resolute. "We release this information, not tomorrow, not next week." She lifted the box. "Tonight." Brandon gasped, "Are you sure?" Noi nodded. "If we wait, Caroline will destroy whatever else she can." Lina placed a hand on hers. "We stand with you, every step." Noi inhaled deeply. Tonight wouldn't be about revenge. It wouldn't even be about anger. It would be about David, his truth, his voice, his life, a life that deserved to be heard. Noi whispered to the dark window, "Caroline started this war." Then she turned back to the box. "Now I'll finish it." Night deepened around the motorhome, heavier than usual, as if the world itself sensed what Noi was about to do. This wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a reckoning. The wooden box sat open on the table like a heartbeat, filled with David's hidden truths. Messages from a man who knew danger was closing in. Noi wiped her face, inhaled, and steadied her shaking hands. Tonight, she would speak for him. "Let's organize everything. We release it only when we're ready." FAI nodded. Inside the wooden box were 4 main items: a second USB with encrypted files, 2 handwritten letters, a small memory card, an envelope labeled "In case they silence me." Brandon sat beside them, pale but determined. "I'll help. I won't let my mother control this narrative." Noi felt a pang, not of sympathy, but respect. He was fighting his own blood for the truth. Noy gently placed the memory card into the laptop, a folder opened, dozens of images, screenshots, photos of documents, scans of prescriptions, notes with dates and times. David had documented everything. Noy whispered, he knew he was in danger. Brandon clenched his jaw. My father. He was preparing a case before he died. Lina clicked on a photo of a receipt, a pharmacy bill. The medication name was partially scratched out, but the remaining letters matched the sedative they found in the box earlier. Brandon's eyes widened. That's not the drug Dad was supposed to take. Noy shook her head. No. Next image, a blurry photo of a person's silhouette near the motorhome, timestamped at 12:41 a.m. Noy's heart tightened. That's the night he died. But the picture wasn't clear enough to confirm identity. Lina whispered, the height. The posture. It could be Emily. Brandon swallowed hard, or my mother. Silence fell. Neither option was comforting. Noy opened the final item in the box, a sealed envelope. Her breath trembled as she broke it open. Inside was a letter written in rushed handwriting, not steady like the others, not gentle. It was written by a man who knew he was running out of time. If you are reading this, I've tried to warn them. I've tried to stop whoever is altering my medication. They don't listen, they don't care. Noy's eyes blurred with tears. The letter continued, I overheard something. They think I don't know. They think I'm weak. But I heard them planning to make sure I don't change the will. Brandon stiffened. He knew exactly who they meant. Noy read on. Noy, if anything happens to me, don't trust the walkers. Don't trust their kindness. And don't trust their grief. Follow the changes in my medication. Follow the money. You will find everything there. Her breath caught. David had written a final line. You are the only one who ever truly saw me. Live for both of us. Noy covered her face as tears finally spilled over. Brandon swallowed painfully, guilt in every breath he took. My father loved you, he said quietly. I see that now. I'm sorry for everything my family did to you. Noy wiped her tears. Her voice was soft but steady. Brandon, you're helping him now. That's what matters. Just as Noy prepared to export the files, her phone lit up. A new message from an unknown number. Lina glanced nervously. Please tell me it's the anonymous informant. Noy shook her head slowly. No, it's someone else. Brandon stood behind her as she opened the message. You have something that does not belong to you. Noy's stomach clenched. Another message arrived instantly. Return it, or I will take it back myself. Brandon stepped back. That's her. That's my mother. Noy exhaled shakily. Caroline wasn't subtle anymore. She wasn't pretending. She was sending direct threats. Lina whispered, she must have seen the SUV fail to stop us. She's desperate now. Noy breathed in. Good. Brandon blinked. Good? Noy nodded. Desperate people make mistakes. Meanwhile, inside the Walker mansion, Caroline paced the marble floors, heels echoing like violent clock ticks. Emily sat on the sofa, crying quietly, Mom. She knows everything. Caroline snapped, Stop crying, we can still fix this. Emily shook her head, No, I told Brandon, he won't side with us, he hates us now. Caroline froze, her jaw clenched, her hands shook for the first time. Brandon betrayed us? Emily nodded. He's with her, he's helping her. Caroline closed her eyes, her voice dropped dangerously. Then he will fall with her. Back in the motorhome, Noy's phone buzzed again. The insider. Finally, you found the garden box. Good, now listen carefully. Noy read aloud. Lina and Brandon leaned in. They are preparing to destroy everything left in the Walker archives tonight. Brandon's face drained of color. The archives hold all Dad's corporate records, his financial reports, and his personal files. Lina whispered, Caroline is trying to erase David from history. Another message, if you want the full truth, you must reach the archives before midnight. Noy's heart pounded. Where are they? The answer came, Walker Estate, East Wing, basement level. Brandon's breath shook. That area is always locked. Only my mother and her head of security have access. Lina pressed a hand to her mouth. This is dangerous. Noy nodded, yes, but David wanted us to find everything. She stood, her voice was fierce, alive. I'm going. Brandon stepped forward immediately. I'm coming with you. Lina grabbed her coat, and me. Noy looked at them, the only people who stood beside her, in a war she never asked for. Thank you, she whispered, then she picked up the wooden box. Tonight, we end the lies. Night draped itself over the Walker estate like a shroud. Cold wind whipped through the trees, whispering warnings the way only nature can when danger is near. Noy stood at the edge of the property with Brandon and Lina beside her, their breaths froze in the air, their hearts pounded in unison. The east wing of the mansion rose before them, tall, imposing, untouched by time or truth. It was the one place David had kept locked away from everyone, and the place Caroline planned to burn his secrets tonight. Noy whispered, let's go. Brandon led the way around the side entrance, a door only he and Caroline had keys for. He inserted his keycard, the light blinked red, then green, a soft click, the door opened, they stepped inside the dark hallway, lit only by small motion lights along the floor. The air smelled of paper, metal, and cold stone. Brandon whispered, the archives are 2 floors down. Noy held the wooden box tightly. She could almost feel David's presence urging her forward. Every step echoed, every shadow felt alive. When they reached the basement door, Brandon swallowed hard. This is the last lock. He slid another keycard. Access denied. Again, access denied. Lina whispered, what does that mean? Brandon exhaled shakily. Someone disabled my clearance. Noy clenched her jaw. Caroline. Brandon nodded. Yes, she's preparing for us. He stepped back. Then he kicked the metal door with all his strength. The echo thundered down the hallway. He kicked again. And again. Finally, the old lock snapped internally with a sharp crack. The door swung open. Cold air rushed out like a breath from the past. The archive was a huge underground room with rows of metallic cabinets, drawers, safes, and shelves stacked with labeled boxes. Everything smelled like dust and secrets. Noy's flashlight skimmed across labels. Walker Holdings, 2011, medical expenses, DW, estate planning, confidential, DW. Her stomach tightened. She whispered, David. You hid everything here. Brandon moved toward a cabinet marked medical. He ripped it open. Dozens of documents spilled out. Lina gasped. Look at this. Hospital warnings, prescription changes, requests for medication narrows. Noy froze. Her flashlight fell upon a drawer labeled DW, unfiled, sensitive. Her heart jumped. She opened it. Inside were stacks of documents, all stamped with Caroline's signature for removal request. Documents David intended to file. Documents someone removed before they reached lawyers or doctors. Noy's breath trembled. She buried everything. Brandon whispered, no, she destroyed everything she thought she found. Noy looked up sharply. He pointed to the drawer. She didn't know these were here. Relief and dread twisted inside her. They had found something Caroline didn't expect, which meant they were in danger, real danger. Lina held up a thick folder. Noy. Look. The label read, Attempted will update, draft. Noy's hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a near-complete document. David had begun changing his will. He had marked beneficiaries, FAI, 40%, Ethan, 40%, Brandon, 20%. Emily was nowhere in the draft. Caroline was nowhere in the draft. Brandon stared at it in disbelief. He didn't want my mother to control anything. Noy whispered, and he didn't want Emily involved. Lina's voice broke. He tried to give you and Ethan everything. Noy covered her mouth, tears rising. This is what they didn't want the world to see. Brandon nodded. And why they pressured him about the will. He swallowed. And why they let him die before he could sign it. The air chilled around them. This wasn't just neglect, or manipulation, it was motive. Suddenly, thump, all three froze. Another thump, heavier, close. Noy's heart stuttered. Someone was upstairs. Lina whispered, that's not a house settling. Someone is walking. Brandon listened carefully, then he whispered, no, that's two people. Noy clutched the folder. We need to move fast. Brandon nodded. I know a back route, come on. They grabbed everything they could carry, the will draft, the medical receipts, the altered prescriptions, David's notes, photos, the memory card, the USB, the envelope for silence. Their arms were full of truth Caroline wanted burned. They followed Brandon to the far corner of the archives. He pushed aside a metal shelf, revealing a small maintenance door. He opened it quietly. A narrow hallway stretched into darkness. Go. He whispered, you first. As they stepped inside the maintenance hall, a voice echoed down the metal corridor behind them. Cold, sharp, Brandon. He froze. Noy turned slowly. There, standing at the entrance of the archives, was Caroline Walker. Her hair was immaculate, her makeup flawless, her coat pristine. Behind her stood her head of security, a tall man in black, expression blank. Caroline's eyes were fixed on the folder in FAI's hands. Her voice was soft, terrifying. Put it down. Brandon stepped in front of Noy. No, Caroline sighed. Brandon, sweetheart, you don't understand what you're doing. Yes, I do, he said through clenched teeth. I'm saving Dad's truth. Caroline's expression hardened. And destroying our family. Brandon shook his head. No, you destroyed it. Caroline lifted a hand. Her security guard stepped forward. Lina gasped and stepped back. Noy clutched the folder to her chest. Caroline's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. If you walk out with those documents, there is no going back. Noy met her gaze, a gaze as cold as winter. Her face hardened, her fear vanished. She whispered, I'm not going back. Caroline's eyes flashed. Then you leave me no choice. She nodded at her guard. Take it from her. He stepped toward Noy, but Brandon moved faster. He shoved the guard aside. Run. Noy grabbed Lina's arm and sprinted. Caroline screamed behind them. Stop them. Footsteps thundered. Security chased them, but the hallway was narrow, and Brandon blocked the way, shouting, Go. I'll hold them off. Noy screamed, Brandon. He shook his head, eyes burning. Noy, I couldn't save my father. Tears filled his eyes. but I can save you. The maintenance door slammed shut behind them. Noi and Lina ran into the darkness, with the truth clutched against FAI's heart. Behind them, Caroline's rage echoed, and Brandon's voice, desperate and brave, shouted, "Run! Don't stop!" They ran, through the narrow maintenance hallway, their footsteps pounding against cold concrete, echoing like heartbeats in a metal cage. Noi clutched the folder to her chest so tightly, it felt like part of her body, the truth David died protecting, now in her arms, as she fled for her own life. Behind them, Brandon's voice faded into chaos. Shouting, struggling, followed by the sickening thud of impact. Noi didn't dare look back, not yet, not until she was safe. The maintenance corridor was long, twisting, bare pipes overhead, concrete walls at their sides. A faint emergency light flickered every few meters. Lina panted, breath ragged, "Noi. Slow down, I can't." FAI grabbed her hand and pulled. "No, we have to get out before they find another entrance." The hall suddenly split into two paths, left or right. Noi froze. Which way? Lina pointed right. No, left, no. Oh God. A loud crash echoed behind them. Someone had forced open the maintenance door. Noi made the choice. This way. She dragged Lina left. Seconds later, another pair of footsteps thundered down the corridor behind them. "Stop." A security guard's voice, not Brandon. Noi's pulse spiked. She yanked Lina into a side alcove and pressed her against the wall. The footsteps drew closer, heavy, fast, getting louder. Lina whispered shakily, "Noi. He's close." Noi clamped a hand over her mouth. The guard stormed past the alcove, not seeing them. They held their breath until the sound faded. Then FAI whispered, "Come on." They kept moving, more carefully this time, less running, more stealth. Until the corridor finally led to a metal ladder, with a small hatch overhead. Lina stared up. "A roof exit?" Noi nodded. "Already climbing. Let's pray it doesn't lock from outside." She shoved the hatch. It resisted. She shoved again. It groaned, then popped open. Cold night air rushed in. Noi climbed out onto a gravel rooftop. Lina followed, gasping. They were on a lower roof of the east wing, out of sight from the main house. Below them was a narrow service road that wrapped around the mansion. Lina whispered, "If we drop from here, can we survive it?" Noi peered over the edge. The fall was around 2 meters. She nodded, "Yes, jump." Lina hesitated, but trusted her. They jumped. Their knees buckled on impact, but they stayed standing. "Run," Noi said. And they ran again, toward the trees, the darkness, the chance of escape. As they sprinted across the service road, a sound cut through the night, a cry, a struggle, a voice FAI recognized instantly. "Brandon." Noi spun around. "No, Lina, wait, I have to go back." Lina grabbed her arm. "Noi, and oh, that's exactly what they want. Brandon told you to run." Noi's chest heaved. "I can't leave him, you have to." Lina sobbed, "Or everything he fought for will be lost." Noi's vision blurred with tears. She forced herself to turn away, but before she ran, she whispered into the wind, "Brandon. Please be alive." They plunged into the trees. Branches whipped against their clothes, leaves crunched under their feet. The forest swallowed them quickly, its darkness a shield. Headlights flashed behind them near the mansion, security cars sweeping the grounds. Lina gasped, "They're looking for us." FAI nodded, breath tight. "Good, they're looking in the wrong place." They raced deeper until the motorhome lights peeked through the trees. Home, salvation. The moment they burst into the clearing, FAI looked around. No one was there. No black SUVs. No reporters. No Caroline. Just silence. They stumbled inside the motorhome, slamming the door shut, locking it 3 times. Then they collapsed onto the floor, alive, barely, but alive. Lina burst into tears first, the kind that comes after terror, after adrenaline runs dry. Noi, we almost died. Noi pulled her into a shaking embrace. I know, I know. Lina sobbed into her shoulder. What about Brandon? What if he's. Noi closed her eyes. Images flashed through her mind. Brandon's face when he said, I couldn't save my father, but I can save you. Her heart twisted. We don't know anything yet, FAI whispered. We don't assume the worst, not until we have proof. She wiped Lina's tears. We owe him that. Noi spread the documents across the table. Hands trembling but determined, Lina whispered, This is everything. And it was: the drafted will, the medication receipts, the pharmacy change logs, hospital warnings, photos from the memory card, the second USB, David's final envelope, enough evidence to bury a dynasty, enough truth to make Caroline lose everything she built on lies. Noi whispered, David, we did it. But the paper clutched in her hand, the will draft, felt heavier than anything. 40% to her, 40% to Ethan. Noi choked. He really wanted us to have a future. Lina nodded softly. He wanted to take care of you both, even when he was dying. Tears slid down FAI's cheeks. Not grief, not fear, something deeper, love, loss, resolution. Noi's phone buzzed. Her heart stopped. A new message. Did you get the box? Noi replied, Yes, we have everything, but they chased us. Brandon stayed behind. We don't know what happened to him. The response came quickly. Leave Caroline's property immediately. Do not stay in the motorhome tonight. Noi froze. Why? Another message. Because she's coming for the last thing she can take from you. Lina looked up sharply. What does that mean? Noi swallowed hard, dread filling her stomach. I think it means. The phone vibrated again. A final message. She's coming for you, Noi. The motorhome felt smaller than ever. Not because of its size, but because danger now pressed against its walls, like a pair of cold hands closing in. Noi stared at her phone, the last message from the anonymous insider, still glowing on the screen. She's coming for you, FAI. Lina's face drained of color. Noi. We can't stay here. Noi nodded slowly. We won't. Because if Caroline was coming after her tonight, then staying still meant dying. Noi tightened her grip on the folder of documents. The truth David left behind. This is all we take. Lina grabbed a backpack and stuffed inside the 2 USB drives, the memory card, the will draft, the medical documents, the letters, the last envelope. No clothes. No food, no valuables, only evidence. Noi's hands shook as she locked the documents inside the pack, as if she were sealing the last pieces of David's voice. Lina whispered, What about Ethan's things? Noi swallowed hard. We'll come back for them, but if we die tonight, nothing else matters. Lina nodded, eyes wet, just as they zipped the backpack. Bang. 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 A knock, hard, slow, cold. Noi froze. Lina clamped her hand over her mouth. FAI whispered, Lights off. They killed the lights instantly. The motorhome plunged into darkness. Another knock, bang, followed by a woman's voice, smooth, deadly calm. Noi, open the door. Caroline, she found them. Lina whispered shakily, How did she get here so fast? Noi's voice was barely audible. She was already on her way, she knew we'd run. Neither moved, neither breathed. Then Caroline spoke again. I'm not here to hurt you. A lie. Her tone was too soft, too measured, too controlled. Noi edged backward toward the back window. Lina. Be ready. Lina nodded, terrified. Caroline placed a hand on the door. Her voice hardened. Noi, if you run, you will only make this worse. Noi whispered to herself, you made it worse the moment you let him die. Another knock, louder. The door rattled. Lina hissed, she's trying to break in. Noi yanked open the back window. Cold air rushed in. Go. Lina climbed out first, handing the backpack to FAI. Another slam hit the door. Caroline's voice turned sharp. Noi, don't be foolish. Noi ignored her.
She slipped through the window just as the front door hinge cracked. The two women landed behind the motorhome, crouched low. Lina whispered, run? Noi nodded. They darted into the shadows, toward the woods, toward darkness where headlights couldn't reach. Behind them, crash, the motorhome door broke open. Caroline's furious voice echoed, Noi, you cannot hide from me. But Noi wasn't hiding, she was surviving. Branches clawed at their arms as they pushed deeper into the forest. Lina stumbled but FAI pulled her up, don't stop. Behind them, flashlights cut through trees, voices shouted, there. They went that way. Security guards, more than 2, Noi guessed at least 5. Lina gasped, they brought the whole team. Noi clenched her jaw, that means the documents matter more than we thought. They reached the same forest trail they'd run earlier that night, but it felt different now, less like an escape route, more like a trap. As they reached a fork in the woods, a shadow stepped out from behind a tree, tall, broad shoulders, male. Noi jerked back and grabbed Lina. Who? The figure raised both hands, don't scream. His voice was low and rough, but familiar, very familiar. He stepped closer, light from the moon hit his face. Lina gasped, Brandon? Brandon looked bruised, exhausted, breathing hard, his jacket was torn. Blood stained his collar. Noi ran to him. Brandon, you're alive. He grabbed her shoulders. We don't have time. Mom's guards are covering the entire property. She wants the documents, she wants them gone. Noi swallowed. We know, she nearly broke in. Brandon's voice broke. She's lost control. Noi, she's beyond reason now. She won't stop unless you're silenced. Lina hugged him tightly. I thought they hurt you. Brandon shook his head, grim. They tried. But I know the estate better than any of them. I escaped through the north exit. Noi exhaled, relieved but shaken. Brandon, what do we do now? He looked at her with urgency. We leave the property tonight. Once we're off Walker Land, she can't legally chase you, not without exposing everything. Noi stared at him, and she won't risk that. Exactly. Brandon led the way. The forest thickened, the path twisted, every noise made them flinch. A branch snapped behind them. Brandon whispered, someone's following. Noi pressed the backpack to her chest, faster. They broke into a run again, voices echoed distantly, search that way. Check the west line. Don't let her reach the gate. Caroline wasn't just chasing, she was hunting. They reached the old back gate, half rusted, half hidden by vines. Freedom lay just beyond it, the road, the world, safety. Brandon pushed the gate, it didn't budge, he pushed harder, still nothing, then he cursed under his breath. Mom put a new padlock on it. Noi's heart sank, can you break it? Brandon kicked the lock, it rattled, but stayed firm. He tried again, and again, the lock barely dented. Lina panicked, they're coming, I hear them, FAI, they're close. Noi looked at the lock, then at the backpack, then at the trees behind them, shadows moving fast. She whispered, no, I'm not dying here. Brandon looked at her desperately, what do we do? Noi stepped back, her jaw clenched, her voice was steel, we climb. The fence was tall, almost 3 meters. Barbed wire twisted along the top, impossible for most people, but not for someone with something worth dying for. Lina, you first, Noy said. Lina shook her head frantically. I can't. Yes, you can. FAI snapped. You survived everything tonight. You can climb a damn fence. Brandon grabbed Lina's waist and boosted her. She screamed when her hand slipped, but FAI pushed her up. She reached the top. Her voice trembled. I am over. Jump. Noy urged. Lina landed on the other side, crying with relief. Now Noy turned to Brandon. You next. He grabbed the metal bars. Noy, I'm sorry for everything. She shook her head. Climb, we don't have time. He climbed fast despite his injuries, then, stop. Flashlights burst through the trees. Caroline's voice cut through the woods like a blade. Noy. Noy looked up. Brandon had reached the top. Your turn. He shouted. Noy grabbed the fence, but before she could climb, security guards burst into the clearing behind her. Caroline stepped out into the moonlight, her eyes locked on Noy. She whispered, it's over. Noy took a step back. No, she grabbed the backpack straps tighter. It's just beginning. The forest held its breath. Caroline Walker stepped forward, elegant even in the dirt, eyes cold enough to freeze fire. Behind her, 3 security guards spread out, blocking every exit, flashlights slicing through the dark, like blades searching for blood. Noy backed against the gate, her fingers tightening around the backpack, packed with David's truth. Brandon was at the top of the fence, torn, bruised, desperate. Noy. Climb, now. He shouted, but FAI didn't move. She wasn't afraid of the dark, she was afraid of the woman standing in front of her, with too many secrets to protect. Caroline raised a hand. Stop. The guards froze instantly. The forest fell silent again. Caroline stepped closer, her heels crunching against the dead leaves. Her voice was calm, too calm. Noy, you don't understand what you're holding. Noy met her gaze. Yes, I do. Caroline's smile was thin and terrifying. You think you're holding proof, evidence, justice. She shook her head slowly. No, you're holding misunderstandings, pain, confusion. She took another step, and you're letting grief twist your perception. Noy's jaw tightened. Don't talk to me about grief. Caroline's eyes hardened. Then let me talk to you about survival. Caroline lifted a manicured finger. Hand over the backpack, and I will allow you to walk away, quietly, safely. I will even give you money, enough to start over anywhere. Lina shouted from the other side of the fence. Don't listen to her. Brandon yelled, she's lying. Caroline didn't flinch. You want to protect your child, don't you? Noy, Ethan depends on you. Noy's heart lurched. How dare you bring him into this? Caroline stepped so close, they could feel each other's breath. Because if you expose this family, Ethan will grow up hunted by our enemies, by the press, by the people who wish us harm. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Do you want that for him? Noy felt something inside her shatter, not because Caroline was right, but because she weaponized Ethan, the way she weaponized everything else. Noy whispered, David wanted Ethan safe, not hidden. Caroline sighed. You think David understood consequences? He was naive. Emotional, you made him weak. Noy's pulse exploded in her ears. She took a single step toward Caroline. For 10 years, I loved him. For 10 years, I stayed by his side. Where were you? Something flickered in Caroline's eyes, a crack in the ice.
Then she straightened. Enough, give me the documents. Behind the gate, Lina was sobbing. Noy, please, climb. Brandon reached down, stretching his arm through the barbed wire. Noy. Grab my hand. The guards moved closer. Caroline whispered, choose wisely. Noy breathed in deeply. Her entire world shrank to David's voice, David's letters, David's warnings. Do not let my death be rewritten. Her fingers tightened around the backpack straps. Her decision was made. She stepped back. No. Caroline's eyes flashed with fury. Noy, you let him die. Noy whispered, you watched him suffer, you covered it up, and now you want to erase him again. She lifted the backpack like a shield. I'm not letting you. Caroline's mask shattered. She screamed, get her. Everything exploded. The guards lunged. Noy turned and leapt onto the fence. Her hands caught the metal bars. Pain shot through her palms as the wire tore at her skin. Brandon reached down, grabbing her wrist. "I've got you, climb." A guard grabbed her ankle. Noi screamed but kicked with all her strength. Brandon pulled harder. Lina grabbed her other arm from below the fence top. "Come on." "Noi," Caroline shouted, "stop them." Flashlights flared, hands grabbed at FAI's legs. Chaos roared behind her. Noi used every ounce of strength she had left. She climbed higher. A guard's hand slipped. Another tried to jump, too late. Brandon and Lina hauled her over the barbed wire. She cried out as metal scraped her side, but she didn't stop. She dropped to the other side, landing hard. Lina helped her up instantly. Brandon jumped down next. "Run." They sprinted into the darkness, the forest swallowing them whole. Behind the fence, Caroline screamed, "Noi, this isn't over." And Noi shouted back with a voice that cracked the night, "And oh, it's just beginning." They ran until the forest gave way to an empty rural road, no lights, no cars, just darkness and breathless fear. Finally, when they were far enough from the estate, they collapsed on the gravel. FAI held the backpack against her chest like a child. Lina sobbed with relief. Brandon sat on the ground, trembling. "We did it. We actually made it out." But their relief lasted only a moment, because FAI opened the backpack to check the documents, and froze. Some papers were missing. The folder had been ripped. David's second USB was gone. Lina gasped, "Oh no, Noi." Noi's breath shook violently. Caroline hadn't been trying to stop her from escaping. She had been trying to take just enough to weaken the case, enough to delay the truth, enough to stay one step ahead. Noi's eyes burned. Her voice was quiet, deadly. "I swear, she will not win." Brandon nodded weakly. "What now?" Lifted the remaining files. Her voice was steady as steel. "Now, we go to the police." Dawn crept over the horizon like a slow breath, painting the empty rural road in pale gold. FAI sat on the gravel with the backpack of surviving documents, pressed tightly against her chest. Her body trembled, from exhaustion, from fear, from everything she had survived. Brandon crouched beside her, face bruised, eyes red but alive. Lina sat on her right, her hand gripping FAI's like a lifeline. For the first time in hours, no one was chasing them, no flashlights, no guards. No gunmetal voices calling FAI's name, only silence. But the fight wasn't over, not yet. They reached the nearest police precinct in town after an hour of walking. They looked like they had crawled out of war. FAI with torn sleeves and blood-stained palms, Brandon limping, Lina shaking, dirt smeared across all of them. When they entered, the officer at the front desk stood up immediately. "Miss, are you hurt? What happened?" FAI stepped forward. Her voice was hoarse. "I need to report a death that wasn't natural." The officer frowned. "You mean your partner? Mr. David Walker?" "The foreigner who, yes, Noi," I whispered, "my partner, my family, my truth." Brandon dropped the backpack on the counter. The officer blinked. "What is all this?" Brandon answered quietly. "Evidence." The officer's eyes widened, as Noi unzipped the bag, and set the files on the counter one by one: medical documents, prescriptions, photos, David's letters, the memory card, the drafted will. The suicide of silence finally ended. Higher-ranking officers were called in, then investigators, then digital technicians. Hours passed. One piece of evidence changed everything: the memory card video. It showed David confronting a pharmacist, about a medication switch he didn't request. A blurry figure resembling Emily, near the motorhome on his final night. A recorded conversation between Caroline and a lawyer, discussing delaying the will changes. Noy watched the investigators' faces tighten. This wasn't a drama anymore, it was a crime, a potential conspiracy, and FAI was no longer a grieving, unstable outsider. She was a whistleblower, a survivor, and the only reason the truth hadn't been buried forever. By noon, a warrant was issued for a search of the Walker estate. Caroline Walker was pulled from a charity brunch and escorted into a police car, still wearing her pearls, still trying to smile for the cameras. Emily was brought in for questioning. She didn't fight, she didn't scream, she cried, and confessed everything. She told investigators, "I didn't mean to kill him, I just wanted him scared." Mom said he needed a push, she said he was getting out of control. She told me to switch the medication. Noy listened from behind the glass wall, as Emily sobbed uncontrollably. It didn't bring satisfaction, it didn't bring victory, it brought a painful truth. David had been surrounded by people who claimed to love him, but none of them protected him, except Noy. Only her. Caroline refused to speak without her lawyer, but she couldn't silence the evidence, her bank statements showing payments to the pharmacist, her signature on documents requesting medication modifications, her voice recorded in a discussion about ensuring David's compliance, security logs showing she visited the motorhome the night he died, internal emails ordering staff to destroy David's sensitive files. She never admitted guilt. Caroline Walker was too proud for that, but for the first time, her perfect world cracked. For the first time, she had lost control. The investigation took weeks. Interviews, statements, court motions. But one night, when Noy sat alone in her small apartment with Ethan sleeping in the next room, she opened David's last sealed envelope. Her hands trembled. Inside was a single sheet of paper. One sentence: "If I don't survive this family, please live the life they tried to take from you." Noy cried silently for a long time. Then she whispered into the quiet room, "I will, David, I promise." Emily received a sentence for negligence leading to death and evidence destruction. The pharmacist lost his license and was charged with medical fraud. Caroline, the woman who ruled her world like a queen, received the harshest punishment: conspiracy to tamper with medical treatment, suppressing evidence, endangering life, obstruction of justice. Her entire empire crumbled, and for the first time, the Walker name didn't inspire fear, it inspired justice. The incomplete draft, combined with the evidence of intent, was upheld in court. David's real wishes were honored, received her share to care for Ethan, Noy. Brandon received his portion, but he gave most of it to charity in his father's name. "I don't want blood money," he said quietly. He remained close to FAI and Ethan, not as a Walker, but as David's son, and as a friend. Lina stood with them every step of the way. Noy wasn't alone anymore. She had a family David would have been proud of. Weeks later, Noy visited David's grave alone. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees. She placed rosemary on the stone, his favorite herb, from the garden he had tended with love. She whispered, "We made it, David, your truth is safe now." Her fingers traced his name, her tears dropped softly, but not painfully anymore. She smiled through them. "I survived for you, and now, I'll live for me." As she walked away, the sun broke through the clouds. Warm, gentle, quiet, and FAI felt something she hadn't felt since the day he died: hope, real, unbroken hope.